maybe you can enjoy doing it the same way. So what we got here is we got some pork and we got some roast beef, right? If you use too much pork or too much beef, it'll be either too much pork, it'll be too greasy, too much beef, it'll be too lean. So I try and use a little bit of a mix, probably about like 1/3 to 2/3 mix of pork versus beef. So that way there's more beef in here than pork, but there's still a little bit of it. And that's the way I like to do it. So as I put this on here, let's weigh this out here. Throw it out. I've got 2.5 pounds of pork right here, and for the beef, I've got about 4.5 pounds of beef. So that's the ratio that we're using today. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to cut this up, we're going to chunk this up, and then put it inside the cooker. You don't like a pot roast. You'd want to keep it nice and full size, and cook it all around the sides and put it in there so that way it doesn't break apart. Well, this here on the tamales, I want it to break apart, and I want it to cook as evenly as possible. So by chunking it up first and putting it in there kind of like stew, then it'll come out nice and easy, and it'll shorten the cooking time, and it'll be much more flavorful on the inside of the meat. So let's do that right now. Get our cutting board and our meat here. Rinse that off a little bit, and just kind of just rough size chunk. So cut it up there in little chunks, just like that. Leave all the fat and everything else on there. You want all that in there. It's gonna just kind of melt away once it cooks. Alright, so the next part, now we got this all cut up, this is ready to go. Get out our ancho chilies. Essentially we're going to do about 1 a pound to cook the meat. And then we'll make some more for later that we could add to the meat, but for right now, it'll be 1 chili per pound of meat. So I got 7 pounds, so it'll be 7 chilies in here. So wash these off, kind of warm water, get all the dust off. Now, once you rinse them with hot water, they kind of soften up just enough to where you can start to pop these tops off. So you want to pop the tops off. Same thing, just kind of pop it off. If you can't grab it, if they don't pull out, you just give it a little start with the knife, open it up. It's all these seeds in there. Just kind of give it a little shake. There's still plenty in there. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We washed off our board. Now we're good to go. We got our 7 of these in here. The next thing we're going to do is get our pot of water. These are comino seeds. My mom used to always use whole ones, said that there's more oils in here, and I agree with that. These have a kind of a different flavor than if you were to use just a regular, like ground cumin. Well, so I used about a tablespoon per pound. You can really smell those just popping. They smell good. Leave these off to the side. Now we're gonna get some onions. 1 onion cut up for every, say, 2 pounds, so maybe 2-3 onions in this. Put in the garlic. 2 cloves per pound here, so I'll put in 14 cloves. Okay, so garlic in. Now we're going to need to put some chili piquins in there. And they're really small, so you put in just a little handful like this, just to get the meat going. If you want a little bit hot, it just gives a distinctive flavor. Put that all in there. Let this boil for a few minutes. Stir it around. And this is what's going to be putting in the blender. I want the tomato flavor, so if I use this tomato bouillon, it works out really nicely. This will act as your salt. Imagine I put in, say, 1 for every 2 pounds, so that's like 2. So we'll let this boil for a few minutes, then we'll come back and then we'll put it through the blender. Okay, now that we let this boil for a few minutes, I took it off the heat and I'm putting some ice cubes in it, just because I want more liquid in here, and I want it to kind of cool down a little faster, so that'll help it both. Normally I do this in a crock pot, but since I have an Instant Pot now, what you're going to do on here is put it on saute, right? And that just heats the inside of this on. Put some olive oil all the way around there. And then you'll let that warm up for just a second. Alright, so now we're on sizzle. There we go. Let's put these in. Now I'm even putting in the other ones and they're not sticking. Now we're good. On top. There we go. And now, you can turn this from saute to manual. I'll come over here. We want to just kind of carefully put all the stuff inside. This right now, if you taste it, should taste pretty much like what the finished product will taste like. Like if you taste just some of this broth, it tastes pretty flavorful, pretty good. Not too much salt, not too little salt. If you feel like it's a little too much or too little, now's the right time to adjust it. Okay, should have a nice soupy mix like that in there. Perfect. Smells good. Smell good?
Okay.
There you go. Plop of that right in there. Ready for the next one. So, you see how thick that is already? You know, that's just from just the chili pods themselves. Don't fill it any higher than that fill line, but that's kind of what this should be looking like right there. Should smell like tamales at this point. Should smell pretty good. If it doesn't, doing something wrong. Say 70. We'll be good to go there. I'm going to take a few more ancho chilies and I'm going to boil them again. So that way I have a little bit of extra ancho chili. So if I want it to be a little bit more flavorful, then I could put just that ancho chili with the meat. It'll work out, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Thank you. Okay, I got 4 more chilies in here. Because I got 4 chilies, I also want to put some more cumin seeds. So I got 3 tablespoons, and I've got some water in here, and 3 cloves of garlic, just to make this a little after sauce. Okay, voila, 1 hour later. And then boom. Alright, now at this point, you just start mashing it up. That little bit of extra stuff will go inside here. But you have a lot of that ancho chili flavor. Now, if you want it hotter, much hotter, add more of these chili piquins, and it'll give you the right amount of spice. That's a hot tamale. That's kind of what you're looking for. So now at this point, when you taste it, if you need any salt, pepper, anything like that, now's the time to add it. If you want more of a cumin flavor to it, now is the time to put in the ground cumin, because like I say, that sits right up on top. You put a little bit of that on there, just a shake or two on top, about that much. And I always like to put at the very end, because that'll be right on top of that meat, is a little bit of garlic salt. Where's the garlic salt at?
And go.
So here's the garlic salt. Add a little bit of garlic salt right on top. And mix that all up in there. You'll be good to go. At this point, you should be happy with your finished product. A little bit more ancho chili. You could add a little bit more of the sauce if you're happy with it. I happen to be happy with it. You like that? You want some, Megan?
Go.
Okay, so now to make the masa. Just use regular masa you get at Walmart. We've got 2 cups of this. Alright. And this is just kind of rough. Just get you started. Alright. So we've got 2 cups there. And then you use about 1 cup of this. This gets all the other kind of the meaty stuff out of there. So that way you can just have the pure juice to use for the tamale, the masa flour. Otherwise you'll have a big meaty... You notice I'm pouring it from the top. That pours out most of the fat first. The fat from the pork and everything else that was cooking. So this is kind of really fatty water. You see how much fat is on top of there? Okay. So in addition to that water, so once you strain it, this stuff, you want to use some Crisco. Down the sink. Don't need that anymore. It would be best if you were to use something more along the lines of like lard, like animal fat, but I don't happen to have any of that.
1.
Then you take about 1/4 of a cup of this here. And you'll drop it in the water. Once you sink it in the water, it should be about 1 cup and a quarter. And that's how you can tell how much. See, about 1 cup and a quarter. So that should be a good start there. Plop all that in. Set this down. Get it rolling. To this, you're going to add about a teaspoon of baking soda. And about a teaspoon of salt. So remember, I used a cup of water in here, or I mean a cup of the juice. Now I'm going to pour another a little bit more, like 3/4 of a cup. There you go, about 3/4 of a cup right in there. But what I'm looking for when I make this here is I want it to be real soft and spreadable. Like, see, that's real nice and spreadable. And I want it to be almost kind of a, like peanut butter maybe, if you will. So you're going to let this sit for about 20 minutes or so. That'll allow all the corn to soak up all the water or the fat or the oil in the mixture. And then you're going to come back after that and redo it, put a little bit more liquid into it, and then re-whip it again. And that's when we'll do the final whip. So right now we're just kind of letting it soak up, get hydrated, and then we'll do the final thing. Be back. Okay, next thing is we got to get the corn husk ready. So got the corn husk, bottom. Whenever you buy them from the store, you want to make sure that they're pretty much like nice and clean, one solid size, and there's not a bunch of mold on the top or on the bottom, and they're still kind of flexible. You want to feel that they're kind of soft. If they stand around for very long, they get very hard, and once they get very hard, they get very hard to wrap. So when you soften these up, you're going to soak them in water. I put a little bit of baking soda in the water, and that really helps soften them up. Softens up the water and the corn husk. So put that in there. Grab a couple, however many you're going to use. How these are here. Like this one in particular, I would put that away for right now, and I want to use the prettier looking ones. Kind of look like this. So as I'm looking through, just making sure there's no bugs, no crud in here. You'd be surprised what you find in here. Alright, look all nice and good. You really smell the vinegar in these too. I don't know why these smell like vinegar so bad, but they do. Alright, so just soaking these in lukewarm, or the hottest water you can get from your tap. Just put the cover on. Just kind of let these set for a little while. And we'll be right back. There you go. See, that's getting much softer now. Now you can spread that really easily in your fingers. Spread that real nice and soft, but it's real soft to the touch, and that's what you want. Okay, cut off right quick.
One.
All right, now we're about ready to assemble the tamale. So what we're doing is looking at the corn husk. There's two sides of a corn husk. If you can see, this one has got a lot of bumps and ridges. This side is kind of smooth. You want this to be the inside of the tamale, other than this. If you do it on backwards, put this on the inside, the tamale will stick to all of this, and it won't be very good. Won't release very well. Okay? Now what you're going to do is you're going to take it, kind of fold it in half here, and fold it in half here. See, that's about right to there. Okay? You don't want it any wider than this thing is. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to put that down. You're going to put tamale material all on here, and then you're going to put the meat in and then fold it up. Let me illustrate. Alright? You're going to get some of that material out here. Okay? Push it down and just run it right across.
One.
Alright, just run it right through like that, pick it up, and now you're good to go. Clean up your board, put it back in there. Now you can pop this open like this. You see right here where it doesn't cover all the way through? Don't worry about that, it'll be just fine, which makes all your tamale happen. Okay, now what you'll do, you'll take your meat here, pretty good portion of it, and put it right in the center of that baby, making a nice little burrito. It all depends on how big or little you want them, but that's what I do. So now, when you flip this around, this should just be able to kind of touch each other. That's kind of the idea. That way it touches here. Okay, now you can unfold it and fold it back around. Continue folding it around until you're right on the very top of it. Bring it back down here, fold it on the opposite way of that fold. That way it'll sit just like this. Push that tamale in just a little bit, close that up, and you're good to go. Okay? What happens is when you want to open it and eat it now, you can just unroll it like that, and boom, it'll be a perfect little tamale. See how it's already doing? It'll be a perfect tamale. Okay? Just like that. Set it off to the side. Now what you end up doing is you're going to make a plate full of these babies. And let these sit for a little bit. And then once they sit for a little while, they'll kind of get this set to them. And then once they do that, then you can bundle them up and cook them. So let's do another one. Alright, so now we got another one. You got the inside face here. Flip it over, flip it over. See where it's about that big? Put it down. Get some more. Flip it down. Bring it up. Get rid of all of this. Now you can open it back up again. Put in your meat. You're going to fold it up. See, I'm kind of pushing it down, kind of not like a cigar, but just sort of rolling it tight, folding it up. Remember that seam is always up. Fold it backwards against it, push it down, push it tight, clamp it closed, you're good. Move on to the next one. So now after this has been in there for a little bit, see how pliable these are now? See, they're just super pliable. Easy, easy. Alright? Now, make one like this here. Put it in. See how you fold it on the back, and on the back you fold it. Okay? Put it down here. Get your stuff on. Put it out. Lift this up. Clean off your table. Put it back in. There you go. Now you can get your stuff in here. It all depends on how meaty you want it, how big you want it, however much stuff you put in there. That's all up to you at this point. Alright. Now, you undo it. You undo it. So, see. Pop it right in the center like that. Kind of fold it up like a burrito. Make the seam to the top. And then push this right on the bottom there. Push the stuff down. Close it up. And set it off to the side to let that kind of dry up a little bit. And once you get all those done, you'll be good to roll. Come back at you.
One.
Okay, now you got a bunch of them rolled up. The idea is you got the little flap on the inside here. You're going to hold them up like this to where the flap's still on the inside. Flap's still on the inside. Flap's still on the inside. That way they're all set up. Then you take, I always take like this, rubber band, to where I can put rubber band right on top. And I can take this rubber band, put it right around on the bottom. That way they stay kind of nice and neat, just like that. And you can set these both up inside your pot, and they kind of stand up. So this last one here, we only have 3 left. Put it like that. Just all of them go to the inside, and it'll keep everything nice and tight. And bam. So now you put these in your pot. Steam these for about 20 minutes or so. and it should be good to go. Okay, so since we got the Instant Pot, I'm going to try this first. It's supposed to steam really well, so we'll see how it does. I'm going to put these in, about a cup of water, very bottom of it. Just want to get enough water that it's not standing in water, but it's in there. All right, so I'll put on the lid here and put it on steam for 10 minutes and should be good to go.